Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we're going to take you for a ride. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. Oh my gosh, I'm still in that post-Nintendo Direct glow.
I'm still in the glow. This is a Direct now that I believe I watched 3 times. Is that a sign of disease or mania?
I mean, No, it's not. I'm just gonna throw it out there. No, because the implications of that being true are dangerous for people who have done like almost 800 episodes of a Nintendo podcast.
That's a great point. Well, so obviously we are going to be discussing the June 2024 Nintendo Direct. So just the quick version of housekeeping before we get to that,
yes.
Right? Patreon, go to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society if you're interested in supporting us there. If you are supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to mini-series that we put out. We're doing NCS Arcade right now, which is we play games that we've never beaten before that are on NSO. And we are about to put out an episode about Earthbound. We just did an episode about Metroid. It's been a fun, great time over there.
It's been fun, and just a reminder that you can follow us for free.
You can follow us for free, and if you do so, you get access to our listener feedback, email episodes about each of these.
We'll
episodes.
come up with a fun, pithy way to explain that.
We're bad at that now. We have not figured out what to call that. Yeah. Anything?
Nope.
Okay, great. You should be in our Discord if you're not already. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
Ninja Turtle source book. Check that all out. Mark, enough screwing around. Let's talk about the Nintendo Direct. I don't know that we've ever gotten out of the top half or the top section of the episode in under 2.5 minutes.
No, we can ramble.
We do, but we did it today.
Yeah.
Because of course there was a Nintendo Direct.
Okay, expectations.
Yeah, what were your expectations? We didn't we knew about this at the investor call or whatever.
Can I just say what a relief that we knew about it?
Yes.
I was not sweating through June at all.
No, I was yes, because look. We were like, of course there'll be one in February. There's always been one in February. Not really one in February, right? So as always with Nintendo, looking to the past is no indicator of what the future is going to look like. But yes, just nice for them to be like, hey guys,
this is Furukawa. And there's going to be a Nintendo Direct in June.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sweaty. It was later in the month, which actually worked out great for us.
And is totally, you mentioned this on our episode on Tuesday, that is the date that we predicted. You are correct. We did predict Tuesday the 18th.
Well, then there you go.
So
I wasn't sweating it.
No, neither was I. Yes, but as far as expectations for what I thought was going to be in this thing, I really didn't know. Sarah asked me at one point, was so what do you actually expect from this Direct? And I was like, honestly, I have no idea. It could be anything.
Yeah, I feel like I had fairly low expectations just because
that's where we are right now.
Yeah, the year so far has just been a weird year. And I kind of expected that to continue.
Borderline a bad year, right?
Borderline for sure.
Borderline bad. The first 3 games out the gate were of limited interest. Turns out it's bad. And then Thousand Year Door comes around and maybe changes the direction of that narrative a little,
but still a remake, a port, a bad original
brand,
game,
a mission, a scar, right? Running the dashboard confessional game, I think. Yeah, no, but I mean, you're right that it's and this Direct doesn't totally about face on that, right?
No.
We are still doing a lot of remakes and ports and stuff like that, but there is a surprising amount of new in this Direct.
There's also a surprising amount of 2025.
Yes. So the part of this is Furukawa. Part of that announcement was, by the way, we are not talking about the new Switch. True to his word on that one. And this is just games coming out over the course of this year. 7 of the games that were shown in the showcase are coming out in 2025. Have release dates of 2025.
And so,
or dates,
and it's not unusual for us to see things in the June Direct that end up releasing the following year. Like last June, we saw a tease for Princess Peach Showtime, and that ended up releasing, in 2024. And so, but I can't recall there being a time where like for instance, the Donkey Kong Country Returns is dated for January already. Basically, what I'm getting to is, do we anticipate any other Switch-related Nintendo Directs for the rest of the year?
I don't think so. I mean, because we have a hard date for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, that I think you're right. That's something that they could have saved for a September Direct, but I think they just got to clear the space for whatever the new hardware reveal event is going to be, or the tease for it, which I think will probably happen in September or October.
And then I also think that, not that I'm anticipating they have other games to reveal for this year, but if they wanted to reveal something for February of next year or whatever, you could do that on Twitter. You could do that.
Totally.
You don't need necessarily a Nintendo Direct. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I anticipate. I mean, I don't know that I anticipate a Nintendo Switch focused September Direct. Maybe that's the time frame, before the Tokyo Game Show that they, that they want to in August or something, that they want to talk about the Switch
new
successor,
hardware,
or maybe they're going to wait a little bit longer. I mean, I don't think these are the last Nintendo Switch games. There's so many Nintendo Switches out there.
Yes.
That there's going to be more Nintendo Switch games next year.
Right. Well, and, as we will talk about shortly, they announced a new Switch Lite, right? And, it's just they will do this for basically any Zelda, is make a special edition console. But that's coming out the end of September.
But no amiibo.
Not yet.
Do you think?
I'm a little conspiracy minded on that one. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the sort of the lack of amiibo in this does make me raise an eyebrow a little bit.
Well, only because I saw your Link's Awakening Link amiibo, and
you're like, wait, where's my Echoes of Wisdom Zelda?
This feels
amiibo?
like a perfect opportunity.
But okay, since we're just talking about it now,
sorry, I know you were gonna wait.
No, it's good. So a couple things. One is that the amiibo functionality icon has been spotted on some of the Echoes of Wisdom promotional material.
Okay.
So, but amiibo functionality does not necessarily mean new amiibo. It could just mean that previous amiibo that you can just scan them in and get daily rewards.
Also, wasn't there online functionality spotted on Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah,
and that ended up being nothing.
Absolutely. So yeah, all of those things could just be copy pasted.
But it would totally make sense for the Link, at least the Link's Awakening amiibo, to work with it.
Which of course then
or other Zelda amiibo.
It of course then raises the question of oh, so does this also have the dungeon maker that that Link's Awakening did with Dampy? So possibly that. But what was the other? Oh yeah. So I think now that we have 2 games in this graphic style, they need a name, right? Toon Link is a thing. Toon Zelda, we know what we're talking about when we call those characters that. What's the name of this aesthetic?
Oh yeah.
Because the rest of the Links, their design is different, but we're just that's Link. We're not this is vaguely watercolory Link, and this is impressionist Link. No, they're all Link except for Toon Link.
Right.
And then there's this guy.
And then there's and how are we going to organize a campaign for these character designs in Smash?
Right.
If we don't have a short, pithy name for it.
Right. And so it's not short or pithy, but Rankin Bass Link, probably Toy Link, right?
Toy Link, that's good
because they've got a physical plastic kind of quality to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my that's the campaign I'm starting. Is let's call this aesthetic the toy aesthetic.
I love it.
Toy Zelda, Toy Link. Okay. Anything else before we get started here?
I think there's just the other I was gonna say
Yeah.
that there's so much to cover and we should just get into it. But that actually sparked something in my mind, which is that the other thing that makes me I can't remember, and maybe it has just been so long since we've had a general direct.
Yeah.
That
since what, last September?
Probably, yeah. That I am just misremembering. But this one felt packed. Like 40 minutes, and there are so many games in here. That's another reason that I'm like, maybe we won't get another like Switch General Direct, because there's so much in here.
Because I think unlike the usual like 40-minute, E3 summer time directs, there was no deep dive into anything here, right? Like we never spent more than like, I didn't time it, but like I don't think we spent more than like 2.5 minutes on anything.
Yeah, I think like the Echoes of Wisdom got like 5 minutes.
Which is possible, but like and that felt like the deepest. We had bumpers from AJ Aonuma like coming in there too.
Yeah.
So like, maybe that one was a little bit longer, but yeah, no real. Like there were a lot of games shown off here where I'm kind of like, yep, that looks like that kind of game, but I don't really know anything new about it.
Yeah.
So now we dig in to a very packed direct. Started with Mario and Luigi Brothership, coming out Thursday, November 7th, 2024.
So this is Nintendo's like holiday game.
Yes.
In the past calendar, like 365 days,
yes,
we will get 3 Mario RPGs.
Right, 2 remakes and 1 original.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and now Mario and Luigi Brothership. Again, I just want to tag Nintendo is a Thursday company now. This is just something all of the rest of the Nintendo dates on here, Thursday.
Yep.
That's new.
Also, this series is not dead.
This series is not dead, surprisingly.
Alpha Dream still dead.
Right. Dead and dusted, but it is some of the like senior management of Alpha Dream are now employed by Nintendo. It's unclear who's making this game.
I saw some speculation in it that it might be Next Level Games.
Oh, interesting. Next Level?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which they haven't, the animations in this look really good, which is something that people remarked on in Luigi's Mansion 3. They haven't released I guess they released the Strikers game, but otherwise they've been quiet since Luigi's Mansion 3. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just speculation at this point. We don't know. I have never played a Mario and Luigi game through to completion.
Neither have I.
And this is one, but I clocked this as part of the Mario and Luigi franchise immediately because I feel like they did a really good job of capturing what I, in my mind, think of as like that Mario and Luigi art style.
Yeah, totally. And it's like an art style that is like present on the you can see it in the sprites themselves, but like it's obviously much more cleanly realized on like the box art and title screens and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like it looks like they have channeled that sort of cartoony, which is weird to be like, this is a cartoony version of Mario when like it's Mario. But it's true. There is something very just like animation-y about them.
I will say that it does, well, before I start explaining myself, when this was the first game and it was the November game,
yes,
I did for a minute, just because I personally don't care that much about the Mario and Luigi series.
Sure.
I was like, oh, this may be a lighter direct.
Right. Or like a letdown in some way.
Yeah.
That if like this is the big guns,
right,
that like it's kind of a small gun.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But, and then, you have Echoes of Wisdom that's coming out in September. And I think all of that is right. It does make sense, though, because Mario and Luigi, obviously, Mario is Nintendo's biggest franchise. So obviously, that's going to be the game. And 2D Zelda, even though it's the first game in the series where you play as Zelda,
right,
and the Link's Awakening remake sold maybe, I don't know, between 5 and 10 million copies or something. Like, it did really well.
Seller,
it's still going to be more niche than a Mario game.
Yes, at 100%.
Especially a top-down, like 2D Zelda game is going to be more niche than Mario and Luigi.
Right. Well, and so Mario and Luigi is also in like an interesting place because like the last release was the remake of Bowser's Inside Story, which sold like 30,000 copies, like an obscenely small number of copies. And it's not the game's fault or Alpha Dream's fault, really, because it was like it came out on 3DS in 2018, I want to say. Like,
by that whenever it released, by that time like the 3DS
yes,
had died so much faster than Nintendo was anticipating.
Right.
Like the Switch took off and the 3DS just tanked. But also it feels like that one released not too far after the other remake that they did on the 3DS.
Right, which was the Superstar Saga, which sold okay.
It just felt like so much Mario and Luigi there at the end of the 3DS's
totally.
life, like so quickly.
Yeah. Link's Awakening remake sold 6.46 million copies.
So totally respectable.
Totally respectable.
But not like Mario level.
Let's stay on Mario and Luigi Brothership for a second, because I don't think we've talked about it at all, really, other than there's a new one and it's the graphics look like they are in line with the designs of the original, but obviously in a much more like fully realized 3D space. A lot of like dynamic camera zooming way out to do like puzzles with the two brothers. Seems like it's still like turn-based combat where you are executing these bros moves where they work together and they have separate button inputs for Mario and Luigi. It is some kind of seafaring adventure, which I gotta say, the thing that jumped out to me more than a seafaring adventure was that like all the enemies were like electricity coded, that they were like had like a electrical socket for a face, or there was one the bad guys were part of like the extension core, like extension cord. So like if there's, and that may just be like that area that's electricity based, but it's just things that I noticed from the trailer here.
Am I dumb? And don't answer that, but is Brothership's not like a thing? Right?
I mean, I think it is in the fanfic community, but no, that's not a word. Cause yeah, I know in like taking notes, my instinct is to write Brotherhood.
Right.
But like it's not an Assassin's Creed game or anything, so like Brothership makes Brotherhood feels too like highfalutin and serious. So.
A hooded Mario turns with his back,
yeah,
turned to the camera with just his face turned around.
That's right. He goes all
two knives in his hands.
Right. He goes all Kingdom Hearts Mickey on us. So yeah, Mario and Luigi Brothership. You have said already you are not normally a fan of the series, or at least like not.
I just haven't played one.
Yeah. Are you excited to dig into this one?
I'm not excited to dig into it.
Oh, interesting. But you reluctantly will.
I think I should try it out, I guess.
Sure. Well, I mean, look, we are continuing NCS Arcade into the foreseeable future. Maybe Superstar Saga, which is available on the GBA NSO. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that could be a good one.
A good one to prime us for that. Anything else on Brothership?
Nope.
Moving on, we got a little reminder of Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, which is still coming out on July 18th, a Thursday. I don't know that we actually learned anything new here, right?
Well, I felt like I learned new things,
Go.
like the legend challenges, that are like more difficult ones that seem to be like longer,
right?
Not necessarily the short speedrunning challenges that the game seems to be built around. Like one example they used was completing the original Super Mario Brothers in one go using warp pipes. Like that was new to me. Kind of like the classified information.
I loved this, the classified information where like it gives you the tips and tricks on like how to get through spaces, and classified information being the like section in Nintendo Power that would do exactly that. I love that they're like, this game is like a reference to outside of games Nintendo tradition of the 1990s.
Yeah, it totally yes, it feels very much like, I don't know what people get out of this if you don't have nostalgia for that era of Nintendo.
Right.
Like,
luckily,
not that it won't be fun,
right,
presumably, but just that it's definitely designed for like to hit the pleasure, like our pleasure centers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Also the online, which maybe they had talked about before, but the one that they illustrated here where it starts out with, I don't know, 10 people and then half
get eliminated
each round. Like I'm gonna be terrible at all of these.
But okay, I think you will and you won't. I think both things are true because we're not we have old thumbs and speedrunning is a young man's game.
Yes.
But B, there can be a lot of kids on here who didn't grow up in the we only have access to Kid Icarus this weekend.
That's right.
That's all we're going to play. So yeah, it's I think there's a balance in there, and I'm looking forward to like trying to get through those survival modes.
Well, I guess this plus there's like Nintendo Switch Online announcements a little bit later, and it makes me realize that as Nintendo's history just continues to get longer, that this older stuff just becomes like more and more niche, and I think Nintendo does a good job of resurfacing its history in interesting ways, like the NES Remix games and these games. But they're I feel like the Nintendo Switch Online library of video games is probably not a big, like, it's a driver of subscriptions to Nintendo Switch Online for a very specific slice of Nintendo fan. Because I honestly don't know what broad appeal the like NES, Super NES, Game Boy Advance, like Genesis, like I don't. But Nintendo 64, like I don't know to a broad general audience how attractive those are. How many people?
So
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think people between the ages of like 25 and 35 do have that like, oh well, I have to have a way to play the Nintendo 64 games on here, right? Like I think the nostalgia for them hits a little bit differently than it does for you and I when we were a little bit older when it came out. I think if that's like among your first gaming consoles, that it like holds a more precious place in your heart. But like Sarah's nieces both spent a fair amount of time playing the Super NES, Nintendo Switch Online, playing like Mario All-Stars, Super Mario Brothers, and Mario Kart. And some of that is probably their dad, who is our age, who wanted to like play those games with them or show them those games. But like I think there are some games in those libraries that are like of the universal appeal, and they're almost all Mario, all Mario games. But I do agree with you that like maybe the access to the NES library was a bigger selling point on the Wii Virtual Console than it is on the Switch, Nintendo Switch Online, especially 7 years into the console's life.
And I feel like the Nintendo World Championships NES edition, that special edition, is kind of like Nintendo acknowledging we're going to surgically extract cash from like
Patrick.
Yes, exactly. I pre-ordered it too,
right?
Because it's just like, again, it feels like it's specifically targeted to me,
right?
So everybody else can buy the digital version for whatever, like $30 or whatever it is. And sample it, but then they know that there's this group of like 40-year-olds that'll drop 60 on it.
But I mean, and that's the beautiful thing about that, and I know we've said it before, but I'll say it again, the fact that it is still like less than I would spend on Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 5 for the special edition of this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. All right, next we move on to Fairy Tail 2, which is some anime action RPG that goes over my head.
Yeah.
Coming out this winter. Then Fantasian Neo Dimension coming out holiday 2024. Fantasian, formerly an Apple Arcade exclusive RPG from the Final Fantasy series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi, with music by Nobuo Uematsu, and that's cool.
I was never gonna play this game on Apple Arcade.
Yeah, me neither.
And so the fact that it's being ported to consoles, to Switch at least, and is like a classic RPG, Sakaguchi constantly threatening to retire, and is just like, this may be it.
This might be it.
And didn't he also do like the last story on Wii that's supposed to be like amazing, and I've never played that. And so this is one I don't want to miss out on.
Right.
And I think my understanding is that they've in addition to, I'm sure, the other stuff that they've done and bringing it to consoles, this one includes voice acting, which the Apple Arcade game version didn't have. I don't know. I am excited for this.
As pointed out by Virtual Boy in our Discord, Fantasian is being published by Square Enix on consoles.
That's interesting.
Which is a fun little like homecoming there. Or in the Final Fantasy VII parlance, reunion. So great. Excited to check this out. I don't know if this is something we really need to examine, but how fascinating is it that we're like, I'm not going to play that on Apple Arcade.
I again wonder if that's like a generational thing.
Yeah.
Where it's just not how I just don't use my phone for gaming.
Right.
It's
right.
just I don't like to use my phone for gaming.
Right. In fact, I'm looking for reasons to use my phone less.
Yeah.
Not like another place for Shovel Knight Dig was on Apple Arcade. I love that game, but I'm not going to play it there. So anyway, cool. Can't wait to check it out. Next up was Nintendo Switch Sports getting an update of basketball sometime this summer.
Okay.
A second free update to this game. The first was golf, which it didn't launch with for some reason. With the motion controls, you dribble, you pass, you shoot. There's 2-on-2 basketball, and then there's like a 3-point challenge and a 5 bucket streak mode.
I liked Nintendo Switch Sports. It sold like 15 million copies. It's cool that they're continuing to add new sports to it. Honestly, for me, the highlight of the trailer was when they were showing gameplay footage and it had the Nintendo Switch Sports music playing. And it just reminded me how much I like that soundtrack because it's Wii Sports like.
Yes,
but with
which
like
is
additional
the whole
instrumentation.
Game is Wii Sports like.
Yeah, it's very good.
13.11 million copies of Nintendo Switch Sports.
Pretty incredible.
So one of the things that I had predicted as we were going into this was that we would not see any DLC or any games where they were touting DLC as like an upcoming like benefit here. And this is one that that got me, like totally knocked me out and was like, nope, here's DLC, a whole new sport.
Yeah.
For a game that only has 7 sports in it right now?
Sure,
it's about right.
I can't remember.
Look, we counted them up a couple weeks ago and I don't want to do it again. But yes, coming out sometime this summer. Next up, Mio Memories in Orbit, coming out sometime in 2025. There's that next year. This is that sad robot platformer.
Yes. Do you know the thing I remember about this from the trailer that stood out to me is the like platforming, whatever sad robot you are, it seems like you grow these tentacle type things.
Yeah,
and so
like grab onto surfaces.
Yeah, almost like a spider, like a octopus, like grabbing onto surfaces to go, which just looked very nice in the art style of everything that they have going on.
Yeah, it's a cool looking game. I assume we will hear more about it as we get closer to it. Did you clock who is making this game?
No.
Okay. Next up, we got DLC again for Disney Illusion Island Mystery in Monoth. You run around the world finding clues and solving a mystery. I don't think I'm going back into Disney Illusion Island. After I beat it, there were obviously like things I could have gone around the map and like continued to collect, but I was already kind of like, oh, I had my experience with that. I had a fun time. But
and this is free DLC.
This is free
and
DLC.
It's already out.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, this was one that I was surprised that they're. Well, do you think that this means that Disney Illusion Island sold decently, or do you think this means it was already in the pipeline and this is a way to, just like garner more sales?
It's a good question. It does not appear on the list of best-selling Nintendo Switch games that are on Wikipedia, which goes through the top, what is this, 100? The top 93 selling Nintendo Switch games. So still could have sold like a million copies and not made it into the top 93.
True.
So unclear.
Up next was Hello Kitty Island Adventure, coming sometime in 2025 as a timed console exclusive. Kind of seems like Animal Crossing with Hello Kitty characters.
Yeah, and this was previously on phones. So, and I think we talked about it when it was originally announced. Just because like it looks like Animal Crossing, and just being like, would this ever come to Switch. And it turns out, yes, it will, and Nintendo's paying for it to be a console exclusive for a little while. I obviously loved Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I can't really imagine that I would check this game out.
Well, what do you think about Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports coming this fall?
Next, I don't. Why would we even talk about this? It's 4-on-4 arcade style sports, 4-player local co-op. Looks like a butt.
It didn't look great.
It looks bad.
I do think it's a good use of the Looney Tune characters.
Fine.
Ideal. Like theoretically. Another one that does not mean anything to me personally is the Among Us update.
Right. Which is available, was available the day that the Direct posted.
New crewmates and imposter roles. And then Farmagia, which comes out on a Friday, November 1st, 2024.
Yeah, this is like a monstering, farming, strategy, defense. I don't know. This game looked like it took all of the like video game buzzwords about like, here are the things you can do in a video game, put them in a blender, and was like, just poured them out. And was like, that's the copy for this thing.
I did like that you grow some of them, you like grow the monsters on what looked like one of them, at least on like stalks of corn.
Sure.
I thought that was funny.
I mean, that is funny. I do like that. Is Farmagia something that is interesting to you, or you're just less dismissive of it than I am?
It's interesting in passing. It's not one that I anticipate playing.
It has now become funny when a game in a Nintendo Direct mentions farming as a mechanic.
Well, I will say that after, this was probably a couple of years ago at this point that we had like the farming simulator Direct.
Right.
This was a very well-rounded Direct.
Yeah.
I feel like we got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of turn-based RPGs.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That is maybe the overwhelming or like the one category that there's a lot of. But enough talking about Farmagia and trends in this Direct. Let's talk about Donkey Kong Country Returns HD coming out January 16th, 2025, a Thursday.
So when this was revealed,
yes,
at that point, I felt confident that Metroid Prime 4 was going to show up in some form or another in this Direct, because even though it turns out that Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is not it's not developed by Retro.
Right.
It's developed by I saw that it's being developed by a company called like Forever or something like that. I knew that they would not tropical freeze themselves again.
Right.
Where it's like,
or Federation forces themselves again.
Yes.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, because we talked about this in the predictions episode when Matt predicted a new Donkey Kong Country game, which I feel like you should get partial points for
this is
Returns
not
HD.
Well, he said a new Donkey Kong Country game developed by Retro. This is neither developed by Retro or
fair.
new.
Sorry, Matt, I tried. But yeah, when this showed up, I was confident that Metroid Prime would be there, because people were so mad when Tropical Freeze was announced and being developed by Retro instead of, I guess, a new Metroid game or something else by Retro. And Nintendo, unlike a lot of other companies, actually has like institutional legacy knowledge, because people are there for a very long time.
Yes.
And I knew they wouldn't do that to themselves again.
Right. Yeah, no. And this is also like the other, when we touched on this earlier, but like, because this is a date so far in advance, I would actually be curious, is this the furthest in advance we've ever gotten a release date in a Direct, like a date?
6 months basically.
Yeah. Pretty huge. 7 months, right? From June to January. It's a long time.
Yeah.
That they're like staking out a roadmap through January that doesn't include, because this is not going to coincide with the launch of like new hardware,
right?
And it's probably not gonna, like, Switch 2 is not coming out before this game comes out,
right?
This is a stopgap solution for the beginning of next year, when software is otherwise slow because they're storing up for the new release of the new thing.
It's interesting that we have Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which looks better than the 3DS game, but it doesn't look, amazing. and Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which looks better than the Wii game for sure.
Yeah.
It still doesn't look, like incredible.
Looks better than the 3DS game as well.
Oh, definitely. But this, I don't know, is it like a new naming convention for Nintendo that they're using for
HD?
like these
That's interesting.
Kind of, they're not like remakes, they're not remasters, they're just kind of like improved HD versions of previously released games.
Well, and in this case specifically, two 3DS games, right? Like it's just worth mentioning that this is probably going to be more like the 3DS version of the game than the Wii game, in that A, the characters have 3 hearts instead of 2. B, that it'll be button inputs for rolling and pounding the ground and all that stuff instead of shaking the Wii remote, which was an insane thing. You couldn't have like another option to do that. There were no way to do a button press roll, which is nuts.
I really feel like that specific choice on the Wii has tainted the reputation of this game.
Absolutely.
And that is why I personally am excited to play this again.
Yes, me too.
Because I didn't own the 3DS version, and I really loved Tropical Freeze, and I liked Returns okay at the time, but the control scheme really bugged me, and so I'm excited to take another shot at this.
So this is also like a best of both worlds, because the Wii had easy multiplayer, right? That you could have 2 players simultaneous, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong on the screen at the same time. While the 3DS fixed almost everything else about the game, it didn't have multiplayer. So this will have the easy multiplayer. Every Switch has 2 Joy-Cons. Like, it'll be, I don't know. This is going to unquestionably be like the best way to play this game, and it's a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Where do we go next?
Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, coming Thursday, November 14th, 2024.
So we have to ask the question, what's going on there? It's a Thursday release date. Some games do come out on Thursdays. That's a thing that does happen. Nintendo moving all to Thursday releases. Nintendo does have a history of publishing specifically Dragon Quest games on Switch. Is Nintendo publishing Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake?
It would not surprise me.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know that we actually got any information about like new features in this game or anything like that.
No, I saw people like parsing the screenshots and speculating that they are introducing like a new class into the game and like stuff like that. But yeah, we still really don't know anything about this other than the release date.
Right. And there had been sort of rumors or like sort of struggle to understand if this was going to be just 3 or 1, 2, and 3 together. This was confirmation that it is just 3. However,
Yuji Horii announced that Dragon Quest 1+2 HD 2D Remake is coming sometime in 2025.
Right, and the sort of like rationale here, I mean, first, there's a couple different ways in which this makes sense, but 3 is a prequel to 1 and 2, so like the chronological version of events is 3, 1, 2, and then also 1 and 2 have been released as like a pair of games together in the like Super Famicom remake of them, right?
I'm not
sure. It's some version of them that's remade that they've been bundled that way before. So it's not like a total out of nowhere sort of thing. But yeah, so 1+2 HD 2D remake will come out sometime in 2025.
And on 1 week after Mario Plus and Luigi Brothership.
Right. Which maybe is a point against Nintendo publishing it, because like I mean maybe it's it's just a market thing,
like
right?
In 2019, the Link's Awakening remake and then Dragon Quest 11S Echoes of the Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch were both in September, maybe like on the same day, maybe 2 weeks apart or something, and both of those were published by Nintendo.
Right.
Very different audiences, I think.
Yeah. But like it also like sort of fascinating here that Dragon Quest 3 is coming to other platforms, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it is just being published on Switch by Nintendo. Who knows?
Which was how Dragon Quest 11S Echoes of the Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch was handled, because that same game was released on other platforms and Nintendo didn't publish it there. Square Enix did. So
and ditto Dragon Quest Builders and Dragon Quest Builders 2. So yeah, it's we don't have confirmation of that right now, but just something to sort of pin for later.
How are you feeling about Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D?
I'm excited to play it. The only of these games that I've played is the original Dragon Quest. Back when I thought it was called Dragon Warrior,
Because it was
on the original NES, and like I like that game in theory. It's like super grindy and like ultimately not that much fun. But yeah, no, I'm excited to play 3 when it comes out this way. I like the HD 2D like style, and like my default is like the game has to prove itself as something I don't want to play first. You
and
know?
there's been a bunch of those that I have not
Yeah, me too.
played. I didn't play Bravely Default.
No, that's not that style though.
No, not Bravely Default. What am I? Octopath Traveler.
Right, or Triangle Strategy.
Or Triangle Strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
But we played the original Octopath and Live Alive, which this is because that is actually a remake, right? Just as Dragon Quest 3 is going to be a remake too. So like, at least we know that like the bones are sound. And then with the HD 2D on top of it.
Up next was Funko Fusion, releasing on Friday, September 13th, 2024.
Yeah, I don't. I actively dislike Funko Pop as an aesthetic, but like this is a shared IP orgy action adventure mashup. More than 20 movies, TV shows, and more IP all being like kind of tossed in here in an action game.
Then they had a brief mention of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which is releasing Friday, June 27th.
I wrote Friday, but that can't be right.
Oh, you're right. It can't be right. It must be Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Because if it's Nintendo, it's Thursday.
If it's Nintendo, it's Thursday.
So yeah, Thursday, June 27th, 2024. And this is one where, from a purely base animal instinct visual level.
Yeah, you wanted to eat it.
But I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
And the only bit I've played of this was in your apartment on your like original 3DS.
Right.
And so it'll basically be a brand new game to me.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about it too, where it doesn't look super great. It doesn't look Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports bad, but like it just doesn't look
and no Luigi unless they're really keeping it a secret.
Right, unless they're really hiding the ball.
But why would you?
Why would you? Luigi moves games. And also, like, my prediction was not about the game itself, but was about the direct that they would show off Luigi.
That's right. That's right. Your prediction wasn't even the Luigi's in the game.
Right.
Just that, like, Luigi would.
That they have to show Luigi. Yeah, that's right. I said that Luigi is there. Turns out he was not.
There's no Luigi amiibo, right? They didn't do one for the Luigi's Mansion remake on 3DS. Sad.
I mean, we'll get
an opportunity to make it smell an amiibo that smells like coffee.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, we'll get the opportunity when he's added to the next Smash Brothers game roster.
As an Echo Fighter.
No, I want him as like his own thing.
Okay.
He's made of goo, Mark. That can't be Echo. You got to base the whole character around being made of goo. Next up is the new Denpa Men, which
I just don't know. Was there an old Denpa Men?
I don't know. Coming out Monday, July 22nd. These guys are kind of like ugly me's. Find, catch, and lead on RPG adventures. Decorate your island. It's free to play. It's a timed exclusive. Mark is currently Googling Denpa Men to see if we have any more information about them. I don't think we do.
The Denpa Men, they came by Wave, is a 3D augmented reality video game.
Okay.
Developed and published, blah, 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 for the Nintendo 3DS's eShop. It was released in Japan on February 8th, 2012. And then there was a sequel, The Denpa Men 2 Beyond the Waves, was also released. There's also a third game in the series, The Denpa Men 3, The Rise of Digital. And
how is digital spelled? The way I expect?
No, Digitoll.
Okay.
And then on July 2nd, 2014, it was announced that a fourth title, the Denpa Men RPG Free, would be free to play. That was released in 2014. A fifth title, The New Denpa Men, was released on mobile in 2017, but shut down in May 2019.
Ah.
And that is the one
This is also the new Denpa Men.
Yes.
So this is a game from 7 years ago that was shut down 5 years ago. Now
that is being re-released on Nintendo Switch. But okay, so the first one was released in 2012, and in the span of 5 years, they released 5 games.
That's too many.
So I feel like this is an us problem that we don't know about the Denpa Men, because it's a thriving franchise.
That's a lie, and you know it. The most recent one was taken down in 2019. It's 5 years that like the game has been shut down.
Yeah.
So
but this one is also free to play. So they're bringing it fit and form onto the Nintendo Switch
as a timed exclusive. So it'll probably be coming elsewhere later. Then Metal Slug Attack Reloaded is available now. It is a tower defense game. It has online battles. It is not Metal Slug Tactics. Weird that they're getting so much juice out of this orange.
Yeah. This was one when earlier in the episode when you were talking about we didn't have any deep dives. It was just like,
yes.
Have we heard about this game before, or was this
not to my knowledge?
Okay.
No. Well, and not only did we not have any deep dives, we didn't really have any sizzle reels either.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like normally we get and here are 7 other games. You've heard of half of them. The others are new. And I feel like this Metal Slug Reloaded and like the Denpa Men and Luigi's Mansion 2 all went by kind of quick enough that like they could have been part of a sizzle reel, but they just fleshed them out a little bit.
Darkest Dungeon 2 is releasing on Monday, July 15th. It's a gothic roguelike RPG.
And a sequel to Darkest Dungeon, which I don't really have any experience or anything to say about. I don't know if you do.
No.
And then we move on to a section for the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. We got announcements of 4 games coming to the service, all available now, all on the expansion pack side of the equation here. 2 Game Boy Advance games. One being Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past 4 Swords.
Yes.
Cool.
Be able to play 4 Swords online.
Yes. Very cool, very excited. And then, of course, Metroid Zero Mission.
Yes.
I mean, a borderline hell yes, right? This is one of our favorite Metroid games. And so, super excited to see it there. And, there were so many GBA games that, in my mind, come in pairs. And it was so frustrating to see Fusion on there and not Zero Mission. Now Zero Mission is there. And then we got 2 Nintendo 64 games announced as well, but they are specifically part of a new app that you have to download called Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online, Mature 17+.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a new app.
Yes.
A separate app.
Right. You can go into your Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online app, and these games have not been added. You have to download a separate thing, which just has Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, and Perfect Dark in it.
Turok got a remaster not that long ago, right?
Yes, but you can play this as part of your subscription already.
Yeah.
And then Perfect Dark, which Hannah and I talked about a little bit when the or maybe Jeremy and I forget. But we were talking about the new one that was revealed for Xbox during their showcase, and sort of being like, does this mean that we're going to, now that Perfect Dark is a going concern again, will we see it on NSO? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, the Microsoft and Nintendo friendship just continues.
Right. Mark, what do you make of this separate app for Mature 17+?
I wonder how much use it's going to get.
I wonder that too. Because Conker's Bad for a Day could go in there for sure. Maybe one more Turok game.
Yeah,
the Mortal Kombat trilogy on the Nintendo 64.
Right.
I don't know.
One thing with these the Nintendo Switch Online announcements that I saw a lot that I honestly don't really understand is people being like, I feel like people are expecting another roadmap from Nintendo where they're like, and here are the games that are coming for the rest of the year, or some of the games that are coming for the rest of the year. I honestly don't know why anybody would anticipate that, because they haven't done it for anything ever.
Well, I mean, the only
other
way,
than when they first announced
new library.
System.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
because we've been operating in the dark for the NES and Super NES for years now.
Right, And they still add games to it every now and then on a schedule you can neither predict nor, a second verb. With these 4 games coming to NSO, the total number of games has reached 255. That's all like separate games, not the SP versions of stuff. Yeah, it does mean that I'm counting like 3 different versions of Super Mario Brothers 3. But what are you gonna do?
I mean, that's a pretty good. That's the plus expansion pack, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for $60 a year, $50 a year.
I think it's $50.
$50 a year. You're getting access to like 250 games. That's pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, to answer your question, I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know how many more games will actually end up on this NSO mature 17 plus.
Yeah. Obviously, you and I are both excited about the GBA games. Are you excited about either of these Nintendo 64 games?
Okay, when I try, no. Turok, I'll maybe mess around with. Perfect Dark, I've never played on the Nintendo 64. So, although I was gonna say maybe another one for NCS Arcade if you haven't beaten it, but after our experience with
Jet Force
Gemini, and when GoldenEye came out on the NSO library in like February
you beat
last
it,
year,
right?
2 years ago. Yes, but I had to jump through. I like looked on Reddit. Like I was trying to play it in handheld mode without the Nintendo 64 controller, and had to jump through so many hoops. Like was going on Reddit, like mapped my buttons a certain way, and then like reversed it in order to, like you're like holding the console upside down to get the control scheme to make some sort of sense. And even then, the entire time, it just felt like you were fighting the controls. Like, truly. So I really feel like the only way to play these is with a Nintendo 64 controller.
Right. And even then, like, it may be too
bad.
counterintuitive to really make any sense.
A lot of those games just do not hold up very well.
Yeah. I mean, I know that Perfect Dark does have a reputation as being, like, better and more playable than 007. GoldenEye, but I don't know how much more. I think if we do end up like committing to either of these games, that we try them out first.
Yeah.
All right. Then moving out of Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack to Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero, coming out sometime in 2025.
So this is a sequel to a PlayStation 2 game that released 20 years ago. And I've never played it. It's a like turn-based tactical RPG, and it has this like sterling reputation. So it's kind of cool that it's getting a sequel 20 years later. But I've never played it, and so I don't necessarily like. I'm not anticipating this.
But we're keeping an eye on it.
I just think it's really cool to see another Phantom Brave game after all this time. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Indeed. Next up, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, coming out sometime this year. It includes 7 arcade games. They are X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes, and The Punisher, which is a side-scrolling like beat-em-up kind of game, not actually a fighting game like the other 6. Incredibly cool collection of games. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is something that they have not brought to consoles, really.
I can't believe that they are paying the licensing or worked out a licensing deal with Marvel to bring these games to consoles.
Yeah, I mean, especially because like the last Marvel vs. Capcom game, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, was like a bomb. Like did really, really poorly. Didn't make much of a mark on like the fighting game scene, which is especially a bummer after 3 was such a big deal in the fighting game community. But yeah, awesome that they have seemingly worked that out, and we got this collection. This is going to be a day one purchase for me. Yeah, I'm so excited about this.
This is one where like I am not a fighting game person. Yes. I know that I would not play this game basically at all, and yet my enthusiasm for it, like immediately I was like, when that music started playing,
I'm gonna take
and it has, I was like, do I need to buy this? And I'm not going to, because except
you might.
Will. I mean, I've bought plenty of games that I've never ended up playing. right?
I mean, the thing about the Marvel games, the Marvel versus Capcom games, is that they are, even if you're not good at them, even if you can never engage with like the deeper fighting mechanics, is they are incredible fireworks displays of Marvel and Capcom nonsense. Just so much fun to hear and to see and to mess around with for a little bit.
This is just another one that reminds me of going to like friends' birthday parties.
Yes.
In an arcade and Marvel vs. Capcom being there. Like you said, the design of these games, the characters, sprites, the music, all of it is so good. And there's something about like a new release of Street Fighter 2. You're like, nice, but I know that Street Fighter 2 is going to be available on like a new system because Street Fighter 2 is basically available everywhere. To have Marvel vs. Capcom games released, part of it is like, I don't know if these are ever, who knows when this will happen again.
Right. Yes. I mean, it's the same sort of thing as like, yeah, and Capcom does this a lot, right? Like they have like the Capcom versus SNK games, or SNK versus Capcom. They've got Tatsunoko versus Capcom, and like all of these things where you're like, that's great that you're putting that out now. Who knows if we'll ever see it again in the future because, you know, working out the rights is so complicated. And this is just one where like it's actually back. There's the added wrinkle of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in its original arcade incarnation is on a version of arcade hardware that is different from a lot of the earlier fighting games. And so this is the first one in like the engine that uses that arcade hardware to be re-released, which opens the door to the SNK fighters and like Power Stone and all these other games that use like a slightly different fighting engine than the arcade cabinet they were using for like all these other ones. So like the fighting game dorks are abuzz about this for lots of reasons, and it all kind of centers around Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is an incredible game and like a historical thing that is worth paying attention to.
Comes out sometime this year.
Sometime this year, yeah. Training mode, online modes, including the co-op in the Punisher game, and then galleries and music players and stuff like that.
Up next, 1/3 of one of my predictions.
Yep, 1/3 of Mark's first prediction.
In our direct predictions episode, there is in fact a new Mario Party game, Super Mario Party Jamboree, releasing Thursday, October 17th, 2024. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I clocked is that this is not Mario Party Jamboree.
This is Super Mario Party.
Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Right.
Which the only other time they've used that branding was the first Switch Mario Party game was called Super Mario Party.
Yes.
And then the one that released 2 years ago or whenever that was Mario Party Superstars.
Right.
And now we're back to Super Mario Party branding. Does that mean anything?
Kind of. So, because Superstars was a like celebration of like the past, right? There wasn't new stuff in it. It was all old boards. It was all the old mini games. Sort of a greatest hits of Mario Party. I think Super Mario Party is the new name of the series. And you know, obviously, like mini games do get reused in this game, and two boards are being reused as well. But I think the thinking is that Super Mario Party is like the new direction of the series.
The other thing that I thought while watching this, because I don't really care about Mario Party,
right?
But it was one where I was watching and I was like, this actually looks like it could be fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because it seemed like it had a bunch of other modes and features versus just the and even like the board game ones that they showed where you're like in a car.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It
or
looked
the mall.
It looked different to me from previous Mario Party games. I don't know if that's just because I was paying attention more. I honestly don't know, but it did look fun.
So you know, the Mario Party games always have fewer boards than I think they should. But the Super Mario Party had only 4 game boards to play on. This one has 5 new boards and 2 like returning boards. Mario's Rainbow Castle from Mario Party 1 and Western Land from Mario Party 2. So that's 7. That's almost double the number of boards as in Super Mario Party. So it seems feature rich.
I like this 20-player head-to-head online CAPCOM.
Yeah, I'm not exactly
mode.
sure how it's spelled. It didn't appear on screen at all, so I assume it's like a triathlon, but with Koopa. Koopathlon.
Like that seemed like a fun wrinkle, but yeah, this is gonna sell crazy amounts.
Let's just double check how many Super Mario Party sold on Switch. The answer? Do you want to take a guess before I reveal the number?
20 million.
20.66 million. It's the 8th best-selling game on the platform.
Holy cow.
Holy cow, indeed. So it comes out in October, like we said, October 17th.
But there is a late September game that we've got to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
AJ Aonuma shows up, looking more handsome than ever. I feel like he's just getting more handsome.
It's
as
like
he ages.
It's the glasses and the hair and like the goatee. Just the man looks good.
Sterling.
And he's wearing like a Zelda shirt, which he was wearing like a blazer over it, so you couldn't see all of it.
I know,
but I wanted to.
I wanted to as well, and it was purple, which I guess features kind of in like the it was a white shirt with like purple everything else, and we see in the trailer for this new Legend of Zelda game like these purple portal dimension like thingies. And so at first I was like, is this like, is it not a Hyrule shirt? And he's gonna like reveal it as like a Lorule shirt or something like that. No, but but what we did get was incredibly interesting and incredibly exciting.
Right. So the trailer starts off with like Toy Link fighting Toy Ganon.
And at first you're like, is this a remake of like an Oracle game? Is this like, what is going on here exactly?
Link to the Past maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Because Zelda is in like Zelda is there and she's like kind of trapped inside like a diamond crystal thing.
Yes. But no. Then one of Link defeats Ganon and then a portal opens up and Link sinks into this portal. But before he does that, he uses his bow to shoot the crystal that Zelda is trapped in. Zelda breaks out and we realize Zelda is the protagonist of this new game.
Yes. So this game is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. It is all in the Link's Awakening graphic engine. And Zelda's our hero. She doesn't fight. She doesn't have like a sword or anything. She does have this tri-rod, which makes copies of objects in the world. And it seems like the whole game is built around this make copies of things mechanic.
So this is so incredibly cool to me in two different ways.
Yeah.
One, that we're getting another like new original top-down Zelda game.
Yes.
Because
phenomenal.
When the Switch originally released, one of the things you and I talked about and were excited for that did not end up being the case is we were like, oh my gosh, Nintendo is still going to have a home for their like $40 efforts.
Right.
For like the games that previously would be on like a 3DS or something, they will be able to still do those and just have them on Switch. That has not turned out to be the case. And so with that, were we going to get new original top-down 2D Zelda games? We hadn't this entire generation. The last one we had was A Link Between Worlds,
right?
Which was at this point 12 years ago.
It was a long
something
time
like
ago,
that.
Yeah. I mean, with the sort of pit stop into the remake of Link's Awakening, which obviously wasn't a new game, but like still a huge effort, obviously, to remake all those assets.
But could have been a one-off.
Yeah,
easily could have been a one-off.
Absolutely.
The other thing that is so interesting to me is that in the wake of Tears of the Kingdom, there were a lot of interviews with Fujibayashi and Aonuma, and talking about the future of the Zelda series.
Yes.
And they kept reiterating that we think that this is the this discovery, format is Zelda going forward. And that made me worried again about what does that mean for top-down Zelda games. Is there a place for them anymore? And
this seems like that.
Yes, seeing Echoes of Wisdom, seeing them take everything, like ideas from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom about how you want to solve puzzles is up to you. How, we're going to give you all these tools and you use them
right,
to do combat and solve puzzles. Like, that is Breath of the Wild. That is Tears of the Kingdom.
absolutely.
And see that applied to a top-down Zelda game is so exciting to me.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, both of these things can exist. They're not
Yes.
like the Breath of the Wild gameplay style does not preclude top-down Zelda from existing.
Right. It does maybe mean that I'll be interested to see like how linear this game is. Like, are there dungeons in a traditional sense? Can some of the dungeons be like hacked and broken because like you can just keep recreating things in a space and like work your way around?
So there
obstacles?
are I was watching a gameplay footage breakdown
Sure.
of this, and there are like limitations in place. So you have this new character, Try, that's following you around, and she has I'm assuming it's a she, I don't know, they have little like triangles that follow behind them,
Got
and
it.
each of the items that you copy cost a certain amount of triangles.
Got it.
So like a bed might be 1 triangle, but a moblin might be 3 triangles.
Sure.
And so you can only, so there's a limit.
How many objects
I'm
you can add
assuming
at
you
one
get
time. Yeah.
more throughout the game, but yeah, there's a limit to how many you can do. Not that this game won't be broken,
Right,
there
of
and
course,
back
of
again,
course, right.
like we've seen with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But yeah, that does seem to be part of the gameplay.
But so like a fascinating like kind of wrinkle, and another like, this is such a like classic Nintendo thing where it seems like they are totally exploding the concept of this game with one simple premise that you can make copies of objects. Like it's so simple, and it must be based in like the same sort of like physics engine that governs Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously not an identical one, but like the same sort of idea where it's just like these things have the following properties, and when you put them in different places,
Yeah.
you will see how they interact with the environment.
Also, just interesting to see, like in the trailer, like the cubes of water that you
Yeah.
can go in, because again, that feels like something from Tears of the Kingdom.
Totally.
That's being applied here. It also makes me wonder, because the Link's Awakening remake looked like the toy style.
Yep.
It was really cool, but there were definitely performance issues. It makes me wonder if, and that was a pretty grid-based remake.
Totally. Yeah.
Makes me wonder if they're using the art style, but in a different
engine. Yeah,
maybe,
possibly.
Because
it-
or it's just a really, whatever they built that in, maybe it was like Unreal 4 or something, whatever, or Unity is really flexible and they can do it. They can use it here as well. But this just seems like it would be so much more like the physics of it are so much more challenging than something
Right.
like Link's Awakening.
Yeah, well, and that was like one of my concerns in watching this, where it's like, oh, like, can you get to a point where you've copied too many complicated objects, and the fact that there's also like grass blowing in like the bottom left corner, is that going to drag this game down to like 4 frames per second? Like, who knows, right?
Right.
But it didn't. It would be weird if there were performance issues in the trailer that they showed us, but like it looked smooth and cool and good. So I'm very hopeful that this thing's going to rule.
I know. I gotta say, after Princess Peach Showtime being a disappointment,
Yes,
it honestly does temper my expectations a little bit. It's like,
sure,
but they're not gonna mess this up, right?
No, well, because like the difference here is like Aonuma came out and said like, here's the new Zelda game. It stars Zelda. It's not a Princess Peach game. That's like a weird offshoot. That's like, here's a Mario Brothers game, but it stars Peach. It just, for whatever reason, this feels like a bigger, more serious deal than Showtime.
It also feels like this was been really thoughtfully done in a way that you're like,
Yes.
What is not Showtime is whatever, but what was the logic? What was the logic for Showtime? Why is it what it is? Versus this feels like they really thought about, okay, we're going to make a Legend of Zelda game where Zelda is the protagonist. First of all, amazing.
Right.
Something that fans been asking for a really long time. To see it fulfilled in such a cool and surprising way, amazing. And then really thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, Link is, his connection to the Triforce is the Triforce of Courage, and Link is this sort of character, and he does combat this way. But Zelda's connection to the Triforce is the Triforce of Wisdom. What does that mean?
Yes.
Right? And like, what does that mean from a gameplay perspective? And how does that affect her combat? How does that affect how Zelda will and I think we're only seeing, because Zelda obviously is also a very in some iterations is a very powerful magic wielder.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see if that ends up having any sort of effect in the game. But I love that they said, okay, like, what is Zelda's combat? Because Link's thing is sword and shield.
Right.
But, and, Zelda's connection is the Triforce of Wisdom.
So what does that look like?
Exactly.
How does she like channel that? And they even are talking about it in this trailer that like it will take the wisdom of the player to solve these puzzles with not a prescribed solution, but with like the knowledge of the features, the qualities of these objects you're recreating.
And I think it would be kind of disappointing if it was just like it's a Legend of Zelda game, except Zelda's wielding the sword this time.
Right. Yeah. That would feel lesser. I know there's also just like a thing with the naming convention here that every game that stars Link is called The Legend of Zelda. But I like that this is just another Legend of Zelda game.
Totally.
And like that even kind of applies to and forgive the like pile on here of Princess Peach Showtime. It acts as an easy point of comparison. But like Zelda's health gauge in this is hearts. We see them. We see that she starts with 3 hearts. It's a very like Legend of Zelda standard thing. We see all these different Zelda characters. We see Impa. Hold on, I made a list of references to other like Zelda games. We see Zora's, both the classic and modern versions. We see Gerudo. We see Deku Scrub. We see the Great Deku Tree. I didn't write Impa, and maybe I already said it. When like the world map sort of first reveals itself, it looks like the Link to the Past.
And I love that world. It is that same kind of like Breath of the Wild pan, like tilt camera, pan back,
right?
Logo reveal, except in this time it's in that toy aesthetic. Like it really does feel like they're like, yeah, this is
the next Zelda game.
Yes.
And like we will treat it with that reverence, which like Princess Peach Showtime did
not.
We're like, okay, there's here are new what are the little guys called in?
Oh yeah,
it's
not like
Theets.
Yeah.
Where it's like those should be toads, right? Like we should be doing like Mario stuff here. But in any event, all of which is to say that like I'm so excited about
Me too, and it's so close.
Yes,
it's like 3 months away.
Yeah. September 26th.
The other part that you were talking about here, talking about like the classic and modern Zoras, the Gerudo, the Deku Tree. The other thing that they're doing is the Breath of the Wild thing, where it's like we are taking elements from all Zelda games, and mixing it up, and like because where does this fall in the time? Like all that kind of stuff. And it's like with Breath of the Wild, it was like, here's a nod to this, here's a nod to that, here's a nod to this.
Yeah.
And
same here.
They're doing the same thing, Echoes of Wisdom, things that have never shown up in like top-down Zelda games before, like the Great Deku Tree.
Right.
Showing up here. Is
there not like a little Deku Tree in one of the Oracle games?
There are trees, but they're like Mako trees or something.
Oh yeah, great point.
So they might be related to the Deku Tree, but they are not Dekus.
Right.
The Deku Scrub salespeople, I don't think have ever shown up in like a top-down Zelda game before. The fact that we're getting Gerudo, I think they have only shown up in Four Swords Adventure previously. Like they've never,
man.
You know what I mean? Like the 2 different Zoras. There is a game where there are the 2 different Zoras, and
it's another one of the Oracle ones.
Seasons maybe, and they're in conflict, and it seems like that. You know what I mean? Like it's
yes.
It looks like the Link to the Past map, but blown up.
Yep.
Looks like there's a town in Hyrule Castle. It looks like there's Mount Doom, which I always confuse it with the one from Lord of the Rings,
which is also called Mount Doom.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Wait, is that right? Death Mountain.
Death Mountain. There we go. Yes.
Yeah. Death Mountain is there, so it just feels like they're doing the Breath of the Wild thing again, but for top-down Zelda with a game that's starring Zelda, this new gameplay mechanic. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And it is we've talked Princess Peach Showtime. This is what that should have been.
Catching strays left and right.
That is what Princess Peach Showtime should have been, which is like okay, we're gonna make a Mario game, but it's Princess Peach. So what does that mean?
Yes.
And like a thoughtful exercise that way. It is really exciting to see them doing that with this game. I can't wait.
I also think that the fact that it is taking place in what appears to be a version of Hyrule, right? And is starring Zelda, but is in the aesthetic of the game that took place on Koholint Island and had no Zelda in it at all. Like I don't know. It seems like they are taking the toy aesthetic of the Link's Awakening remake and being like, look at all this stuff that we missed in this aesthetic that we get to do now here.
Also, what does it mean that for the franchise going forward to have Zelda as a playable character on the table? Right? In a Legend of, not like in a spin-off, really, like in a Legend of Zelda game.
Right.
Like, when a new Legend of Zelda is teased or announced,
right,
it could mean
either of them or both. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
The next time that she appears in Smash, what is she going to be duplicating stuff? Like, this is a like a paradigm altering thing for Zelda as a character and as a series.
Yeah, very cool.
We are obviously so excited about this. They also announced that there's going to be a Switch Lite Hyrule edition that is out on the same day. Mark, a question about my pledge to buy everything that Nintendo puts out this year.
It's gonna be what, $200,
$200,
right?
Yeah, probably.
So I'm never gonna force you to spend $200 unless it's on my birthday present. So,
sure. That's true. I don't necessarily have to buy these things for me, right?
Right. Yeah, I think the only rule is that it shows up on your credit card statement.
But
yeah, I mean, but honestly,
by the way, you owe me $20 for Endless Ocean.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, yeah. Which neither of us have played.
I played a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I'll take care of that right after this. But
and I'll pre-order this Switch Lite.
But yeah, no, I'm not going to force you to spend. I'm not going to force you to spend $200.
Right.
If you don't have any intention to.
I might anyway. I've always
a good looking system.
And I don't own a Switch Lite.
And I regret selling my Nintendo DS.
Yes.
That was the special edition that came with. It must have been that was released around the same time as Phantom Hourglass.
So Link's Awakening was obviously made by Grezzo, the company behind the 3D remakes of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on 3DS. Do we think they made this game?
Yeah, great question. Probably.
But I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Question marks abound. All right, let's, I guess, keep talking about... We still have Prime 4 to get to here eventually.
Oh, yeah, geez.
Okay, Just Dance 2025 edition coming out in October. Lego Horizon Adventures coming out holiday 2024. We had talked about this on previous episodes of this show. Stray coming out holiday 2024. Looking rough.
Yeah.
Game looks like it is struggling to run on Switch. Weird that there's like with Horizon and Stray, it's kind of like two PlayStation games. I know Stray wasn't made by PlayStation, but it was sort of first on PlayStation. Anyway, both those are coming to Switch. Tales of the Shire, Lord of the Rings game, holiday 2024.
Yeah, great. Same. My thoughts on it haven't changed. Great idea.
Yep.
Not looking that great. The characters look real bad.
I don't like the designs in it. Next up is Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, coming Friday, September 6th this year. 2 Ace Attorney spin-off games, one previously not released in North America. They have new hand-drawn art, and you can always switch to the original sprites. And there's music, a music collection with orchestral arrangements.
I haven't played these before. These are like more point-and-clicky adventure game type things, is my understanding.
They seem cool.
The star like Miles Edgeworth.
Mm-hmm.
Excited for this. Capcom, you keep putting these out. I'm going to keep buying them because I have faith that a new Ace Attorney thing. They've run. I think at this point they've run out of Ace Attorney things to re-release. And with that big Capcom leak from like 4 or 5 years ago, a new Ace Attorney game was on the roadmap at some point. So and all of these collections have sold well.
Yeah,
especially on Switch. So I believe that
Love is the answer.
and that a new Ace Attorney thing is going to come soon.
I do think it's cool that Capcom showing up in a pretty big way here with both the Ace Attorney Investigations collection and Marvel vs. Capcom, the fighting collection there.
It really feels like Switch is Capcom's just like cash printing machine, where they're like, oh yeah, we're not really making new games for Switch. We're just porting porting old stuff,
right, and collecting stuff,
right, and people like Mark continue to buy it.
Yeah, but I mean, like Monster Hunter Rise, like that was a big
That's a really good
new game for them. Capcom seemingly doing like way better than like Square Enix, for example, and maybe that's just like having more realistic expectations for how their games perform. But like Street Fighter 6 came out last year, not on Nintendo, but roundly like praised as a good iteration on the game, sold well. So yeah, it's I like seeing a healthy, comfy Capcom. Obviously, the Resident Evil games are kicking right now, so good for them. Next up is the 100 Line Last Defense Academy, coming out early 2025. Some kind of Danganronpa, like it's from the creators of Danganronpa. I can't really tell what the gameplay is here. Like some kind of like tower defense. You're a kid, something terrible happens, you have to defend your school for 100 days.
This is what I was going to say, not about the 100 Line Last Defense Academy, because I don't really have anything to say about it.
Leave me out to dry on that one.
This is what I was going to say about Farmiga. Is that what it's called?
Farmagia.
Farmagia.
Yeah.
Or
Farmagia.
Not trying to think of the actress name who is in
Vera Farmiga.
Yes, yeah,
and not her. Lou Ferrigno.
No, not Lou Ferrigno either. It's Farmagia. It kind of looked Pikmin-esque in the sense that you're like growing these animals and then you're like throwing them at enemies like you do Pikmin, and that seems to be like the combat.
Yeah, as a new Pikmin fan, how dare you?
Well, not just a new Pikmin fan, as like a rabid new Pikmin fan.
This is how Pikmin fans are, though. Like,
it's true.
There's no medium.
The few but proud.
We don't really get 100 Line Last Defense Academy, but it's coming out early next year.
It kind of reminded me of, obviously, maybe just the kind of like academy setting, but like My Hero Academia.
Sure.
I think that's how you say that.
I feel like there's a little bit of a Persona thing happening here, too. Early in the trailer, the character is approached by a school mascot, which appears to be like
an imaginary school mascot. Yeah, is that what it is?
It's imaginary, right?
Yeah.
And it looked like a ghost with a brain floating in it. I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like an amalgam of all that Japanese anime, manga, kind of like you're going to school.
Yeah.
Fantasy type things.
Next up, we from Square Enix, we get Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven, coming out October 24th. Curiously, a Thursday.
I don't know enough about Square Enix's release dates to know if Thursday is just their regular thing, or do you think that this is also potentially being published by Nintendo?
I'm gonna say there's the potential is there. We don't know. It's a full remake of Romancing Saga 2. It's one of these saga games, which means sort of turn-based combat. You approach 7 different enemies in whatever order you want. One I'm gonna happily ignore.
You brought this up in the Discord, being like, didn't Square Enix say that they weren't going to?
Didn't they say no more of this nonsense?
But yeah, it must have been too far along before they switched out. Like
right, or Nintendo's publishing it.
Maybe.
Like, that is possible. But I'm also like, why? You wouldn't? They're not really hurting for releases in October of this year. Then, one last thing. The one last thing, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, coming out 2025.
And this is really just a teaser.
I agree. We see shooting, scanning, exploring, turning it into a ball. It looks like Metroid Prime.
Yes. Yeah. But that there's like, why is it called Beyond? You know that there's a hook.
Yes.
You know that there's a new gameplay thing that they just haven't shown us yet. But they also know that it's been 7 years since this game was announced and we've never seen anything.
Right.
And so giving us anything is enough. Giving us a title, a year, and some like gameplay
right,
is enough.
right. Also, a tease of the villain. We assume the villain, Silex, and like he's walking in there with like some Metroids floating around.
Yeah, it looks like he has like these Metroids under control or something.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of it, first of all, I think it looks really good.
I think it looks really good too. I saw a little like just online of people being like, "Oh, it looks like a PS2 game or whatever." But I like no, it looks like Metroid Prime.
Yeah, and I think it looks better than remastered.
I do
It looks
too.
similar to remastered in the beginning part of it, but I feel like it has in the beginning part of the trailer, but then at the end when they do like the super tease where it opens up into this forest area and there's this like
Right.
giant like life tree type thing
mhm.
that's growing like that's truly giant. To me it looks more
You think
like
this is Samus Goes to Pandora?
I think it's possible.
Yeah, it's
That's what the
possible.
Beyond is.
Yeah. But you think it's showing off a little bit more graphical prowess than
and I also think it looks a little like cell shaded's not the right word, but like almost like
no,
painterly.
there's a
something
stylization
to it
here happening that's
that
very
is
cool.
very
Yeah.
different from remastered. Also just the animations, at least in the cutscene or whatever it is, like when Samus does like her like roll and then into like combat position before Silex comes in. We keep saying Silex like we know or care about this character at all.
We don't.
I think like I don't even think he's that big in Metroid like Prime lore. I think he premiered in Hunters.
That's true.
And then is that like
he's like teased in 3 maybe?
Yeah, something. There's some part where he like steals Metroids from the Federation.
Sure.
And then at the end of like 3 apparently he does there's like at the very end there's some sort of like Dr. Claw sort of like
Sure,
I'll get you
right.
next time Samus type thing, but we don't know like what his deal is. Like he's not a fleshed out character.
Right.
Nobody needs to know anything about Silex to going into this game.
But I am starting to think like, do we need to get Acevedo in here so we can play Federation Forces?
Yeah, we do need to do that.
Like I think it's Federation Force. I keep pluralizing it when I talk about it, and I need to not do that. It's a single force. But yeah, I mean, like ultimately here we don't know anything about this game, including what platforms it's coming out on.
Yeah, well, we do know it's coming on Switch. We know for sure it's
vanilla Switch.
Okay. We know they say it. Like we know for sure it's coming to Switch. The speculation is it's in 2025. Is it also coming to will be a cross-platform game?
And at this point, what does that mean?
Right.
If the Switch 2 is totally backwards compatible, what is a cross-platform? What does that even mean?
It looks better.
Okay, but like, would that necessitate a separate release?
Oh, possibly, right? If like backwards compatibility doesn't like automatically force like 4K upscale. Yeah. But it's honestly rare that we see Nintendo like true AAA Nintendo games. A lot of times like Nintendo has a AAA in like the general gaming sense of the word, because obviously Nintendo has big releases like a Super Mario Brothers Wonder and things like that, but rarely does it feel
or Zelda, right? Like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. But even those, like if another studio made them, they would prioritize different things,
right? Like obviously
voice acting and like cinematics and stuff like that.
Exactly, and like clearly Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are technical showcases, the things they're able to do with physics. But they look really good, but they are not like graphical showcases in the same way that you expect from like Microsoft or Sony doing a AAA game.
Totally.
And Prime 4 seems like Nintendo going for it.
But you know, when Nintendo uses Metroid to try and chase the current cinematic gaming trends, sometimes it backfires.
Yeah.
I don't expect this to backfire, but you know, there's actually, even though like I sort of said it sarcastically, like there's shooting and scanning and turning into a ball. That's kind of comforting. The conversations that we've had about Metroid Prime 4 since it was first revealed 7 years ago have sometimes like centered around this idea of like, do we even think it's going to be called Metroid Prime 4 or even Prime? Like, is it going to be a first-person shooter explorer? Like, we genuinely didn't know if the new retro-developed Metroid game was going to be another Prime game, And it's sort of just comforting to see this thing being like, no, it's the kind of game you remember. It's just a new one.
Totally. Even like the way that Samus is holding her arm cannon, like looks straight out of the GameCube. Games does make me wonder what kind of control scheme we're gonna get.
Yeah, great question. I mean, they kind of cracked it with the Prime.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Remaster, but
yeah. So yeah, it's real. It's coming in 2025. It looks super cool.
Okay, so Nintendo obviously gave us the release date for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, January 2025. This they're just saying 2025.
Right.
Do you think that places it beyond the end of the fiscal year, or do you think it is just this is going to be a release, like a concurrent release with Switch 2?
Yeah, that's interesting. Or it doesn't even have to be concurrent. Like, let's say that the Switch 2 comes out.
Yeah, it could have come out later.
Could have come out in like holiday 20 or like, September 2025 and be a simultaneous release on both systems. Because it does, to me, it doesn't feel like Metroid Prime 4. Metroid is just, in my opinion, not big enough for this to be a like Breath of the Wild.
Totally.
Where enough to be the launch title for a new Nintendo hardware. So I don't expect it to be
it can't be the system seller.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the system seller. But I guess it could be launch window. But I also don't think the fact that it wasn't dated for anything later means anything, because again, like you had Princess Peach Showtime revealed in June 2023 that released in March of 2024. You had the 2024 release date for Thousand Year Door when that was revealed, and then that ended up being May or whenever that game came out. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything if they just give a year.
Right. But like the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD was given the same treatment of just like sometime 2024, and now it's coming out in June. So it could be as. I mean, do we think much later than June? Like, is it possible that, like you said maybe a holiday game for 2025, which feels like a long way away. But yeah, I don't know. Like, they're just not really in the habit now of like teasing a game, showing a game that's not going to be out for over a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But who knows? Just as a point of reference, Metroid Dread sold 3.7 million copies, and the Prime Remastered sold just over 1 million copies.
And I think that now makes Dread the best-selling Metroid game ever, including, I think, the original Metroid Prime previously held that title.
I believe that is correct, but I'm not going to look that up. Okay, that's the end of the Direct, something like 42 minutes. A lot of games that we could ignore and not really think about, but a weird number of heavy hitters. Just overall impressions or like other big takeaways from this?
I thought it was a good Direct. I almost felt like I was like overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in it.
Yeah. I also felt like I was overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in it, but I think is also just like further evidence or further suggesting that we will not get another Direct this year.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's not really gaps in their release schedule except maybe August, which I don't. Maybe that's because they said summer for the Switch Sports basketball update, so maybe that's when that drops.
Summer, right?
And then otherwise, I feel like I don't expect. I mean, maybe they'll announce additional games on Twitter or something, but I feel like I know Nintendo's year through January.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, just the trifecta of Prime 4, Echoes of Wisdom, and Brothership, where it's like, those are like 3 big Nintendo games on the horizon.
Yeah.
And some of those horizons are coming sooner than later, but like, I don't know. It's the machine is working even in what is very obviously the last year. Like, truly, we're in like overtime on the Switch, and they're still putting out games that we're excited about.
I think that is what is surprising.
Yes,
is that it's not like we're excited for Thousand Year Door remake and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of it is like, oh, that's interesting, or earlier stuff this year is like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, it's cool that that's being released. But like, I'm much more excited about the back half of the year than I have been about the first part
half.
Of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It feels
with that.
less like a weird year for Nintendo. It feels almost like a regular
yeah
second half.
Yeah. I mean, like almost a 2019, right? Which was that Luigi's Mansion 3 year that you were talking when like Astral Chain came out and a bunch of other things. So maybe we're just presaging the next pandemic for 2025.
Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, a bad omen.
A bad omen. All right. So I think this was a sort of a great direct, like a little bit of an all timer. And clearly still like there's no like mainline Mario thing here. There's no Mario Kart here. No like Animal Crossing, all that kind of stuff that I think could just be waiting in the wings for the next Switch. Like I think we're seeing a lot of guns firing here, and it's like, no, I think they still have things locked away in the armory to surprise us for when the next hardware comes out. All right, Mark, let's close this out. That is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McCabe, Patrice Millette, Kyle Seaborn. We appreciate you all. We appreciate everyone who is listening to the show. If you are not in the Discord, you should get in that Discord. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will let you in. If we misread anything in this direct, you can email us as well, because, we'll keep talking about it, right? We can talk about this direct forever. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.